Someone drove their car into the ginseng tree in my village and fled. But they didn't know that our trees aren't really trees. Beneath their roots are only corpses. If they refuse to apologize, something will naturally come and force them to. Just like it did to me that year. Buried beneath our neighbor's ginseng tree was the body of Alice, their daughter. Ever since Alice passed, this ginseng tree became her parents' sole solace. My mother recounted that on the day Alice's tree was struck down, its fruits immediately rotted upon touching the ground. A reddish sap, like blood, gushed from the trunk, emitting a terrifying stench. It wasn't until the flow of blood sap ceased that Alice's tree withered, turning to ash with a passing breeze. So Alice's parents cried their eyes out, and they just let the culprit get away. How could they let him? But that man drove off so fast. The moment Alice's mother told him to kneel and apologize, he sped away. I quickly pressed. Did her parents see the license plate? If they had the plate number, they could catch him immediately. Have you forgotten, my dear? By the time Alice passed, their eyes were already blurred from crying. How could they see a license plate? Besides, they're so frail. How could they possibly chase a four-wheeled vehicle? Alice's parents had only her as a daughter. They cherished her deeply. According to custom, those who die young are not to be buried. But they pleaded with the village chief for a small plot of land to inter their daughter. In our region, it was customary to bury under a tree, digging a vertical pit and placing the body, cross-legged, inside before it stiffened. No coffin was used. The earth was simply filled back in. Before long, a ginseng tree would sprout from that spot. This wasn't the market's common yellow-streaked, purple-veined fruit, but exactly like those described in Journey to the West. Fruits the size of a hand, shaped like crying babies. Despite their bizarre appearance, their taste was incredibly sweet. There was even a nursery rhyme about crying babies tasting sweet. I remember seeing Alice's tree. Its trunk was so thick and strong. Who knew it was only 3 years away from harvest? Fruits appear only once every 3 years. Yet the tree was knocked down. It was truly pitiful. How dare that person flee? He truly doesn't fear ghosts knocking at his door in the dead of night. Alice, please, claim justice for yourself. Just like that year. It must be so. Just like yanking this. Alice was my neighbor, older than both my sister and me. When we were little, we often played together. Back then, catching an eel could earn us a few coins. So, we spent almost every day by the paddies, catching eels. Alice was the best eel catcher. She used her hard-earned money to buy a pair of silver earrings inlaid with pearls. I watched, filled with envy, and in that moment, a wicked thought took root. When Alice wasn't looking, I secretly took those earrings. A few days later, my sister discovered Alice's missing earrings. Alice cried all day. Her parents also scolded her for not being careful with her belongings. For days, her eyes were red and swollen. She kept muttering, "I clearly put them in the drawer, so how could they disappear?" Not long after, my sister found out about my actions. She found the silver earrings under my pillow, then dragged me out, insisting I apologize to Alice directly. I was terrified, adamantly refusing to go. After a night of struggle, my sister scolded me half to death, and I finally choked out an agreement to apologize the next morning. But the next day, before we even had a chance to get out of bed, we heard frantic knocking at the door. That's when we learned Alice had suffered an epileptic seizure last night and was now gone. I never imagined that the stubborn child who refused to apologize last night had forever lost the chance to face Alice. Alice's funeral was very simple. Since she died before reaching adulthood, only close relatives came to pay their respect. Looking at Alice's pale face, my hands trembled uncontrollably. I didn't dare return the earrings I clutched tightly in my hand. Moreover, surrounded by adults, I didn't have the courage to confess the truth. If I did, my father would surely beat me to death with a broom. I didn't dare. I truly didn't dare. But precisely because I didn't return the earrings, the night after Alice was buried, I had a nightmare. In the dream, Alice's resentful accusations filled my ears. Why? Why did you steal my things? They were what I cherished most. Give them back. Give them back to me. I have to wear them. I have to wear them. I woke up drenched in cold sweat. I dared not sleep again. That entire day I lived in a daze, not even wanting to eat. Finally, my sister noticed my abnormality and quickly dragged me out that very night to return the items to Alice. But I never expected to witness such a horrifying scene when we dug up the mound where Alice was buried. As we dug up the mound and pulled Alice's head partly out, her eyes were still slightly ajar, as if she were alive. But looking at that face, I was too terrified to move. I had to rely on my sister's help, each of us putting one earring on Alice. As I did so, my hands trembled, fearing that Alice might suddenly open her eyes mid-wear and turn into a vengeful spirit, demanding my life. But I never expected that even though Alice didn't open her eyes, there was still strange movement. My sister, working faster than me, finished one side and then held the lamp for me. Just as I was threading the earring, something suddenly crawled out from the top of Alice's head. A stream of foul-smelling, slimy fluid shot straight into my face. Ah! I couldn't help but scream desperately. My sister, standing on the other side, quickly clamped her hand over my mouth. This was the edge of the village, after all. If anyone found us digging up Alice's grave in the middle of the night, the villagers would surely ostracize us for life, and my father would definitely beat me to death with a broom. I frantically wiped away the slime, then turned to look at the source of the movement. I saw a large beetle slowly crawling out from the top of Alice's head. The beetle was the size of a fist, with 10 legs, huge scythe-like growths on its body, and a pair of wings. On its back, it even had a skull pattern. It was slowly emerging from Alice's skull. Despite having wings after it fully emerged, it didn't fly but transformed into a sapling that grew at an astonishing speed. Alice's mouth suddenly gaped wide, and countless tree roots burst forth from it, plunging deep into the earth. At this moment, both my sister and I turned pale. In the next second, what I saw were Alice's wide-open, staring eyes, jet black, fixed on us. Her mouth, filled with tree roots, had inexplicably stretched wide to her ears, forming a cold smile. I distinctly heard Alice's voice echoing in my ear. "Remember this clearly, you owe me. I'll let you off this time. But one day, I will come." After this incident, I ran a high fever for 2 days. Besides my sister, I didn't tell anyone else. From then on, to atone, whenever Alice's family needed anything, I volunteered to help. Alice's mother treated me like a foster daughter, and Alice no longer appeared in my dreams. But I never expected that the peace of so long would be shattered by such a horrifying event. Just as our family's ginseng tree was about to be harvested, I took leave to return to my village. After several years away, the journey was still long. From the city, I changed to a bus to the county, then a small bus to the village road from the town. Finally, I had to take a farm vehicle or an electric cart from a villager to reach the village gate. However, this time, upon reaching the village entrance, I saw a man in a suit relentlessly kneeling before Alice's parents. "Please, Auntie and Uncle, I beg you, please tell your daughter to spare me. I truly didn't mean to. I earnestly plead with you. Please tell her to go back. I'll pay any amount, I beg you." But in response to the man's pleas, Alice's usually gentle mother glared, spitting into the wind. "You hit my daughter and ran. You deserve her coming after you." This is a warning. Don't think we villagers are easy to bully. You brought all this upon yourself. You deserve it. Hearing this, the man kowtowed to the ground even harder. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. But this was my doing alone. Now she's coming after my wife and child. You also have children, Auntie. You must understand. Even if she takes my life, I'll accept it. But my son, my wife and I prayed to heaven and Buddha for a whole year to have him. The man drove a flashy red convertible and wore a huge gold watch, clearly not an ordinary person. That made his kneeling even more pathetic. I wanted to hear more, but my mother spotted me at the village entrance and immediately pulled me away. "Jade, what are you doing standing here? Your father is waiting at home." And so, my mother pulled me home. After several years, the village had changed a lot. My younger brother, who used to not even reach my shoulder, now surpassed my height. His body had become increasingly muscular, looking like a city wall from a distance. Only his personality remained the same. He met me and couldn't utter a word for half a day, only coldly saying, "You're back." My parents, who once radiated vitality, had aged considerably. My father, whom I once had to look up to, was now bent and frail, but I still felt the same, not daring to look him straight in the eye. "Jade, you're back? Tomorrow, go pick fruits." Hearing that, I knew that even upon returning, I wouldn't get any rest. Tomorrow morning, I definitely had to go to the garden to work, but no one expected the chaos that would unfold in the garden the next day. Ginseng harvesting in our area is very elaborate. That trees have souls is something I've known since I was a child, because they sprout from corpses. Before picking the fruit, one must pray respectfully, without any disrespect. If stolen, the fruit would be sour and difficult to swallow. Moreover, brass scissors must be used to cut them. The fruit must not touch the ground or absorb water when it falls. If it touches the ground, the fruit immediately withers, losing all its vitality. If it absorbs water, the fruit will rot instantly, turning into white sap. But drying or candying them into preserves is useless. This type of fruit doesn't keep for long. Only by placing it in a wooden container or wrapping it tightly in oil paper might it last a few more days. But fresh fruit tastes incredibly good. There's no worry about leftovers. Just inhaling its fragrant aroma is enough to stimulate the appetite. Before you can even chew it, it melts into a sweet liquid, seeping straight into your heart. But fruit is very rare, bearing only once every 3 years. Each harvest season, villagers divide the fruits equally by household, usually receiving fruits from the tree grown on their ancestors' graves. I used to love this precious fruit, but after witnessing what happened to Alice, I suddenly understood that these ginseng trees, which seemed to absorb the essence of heaven and earth, actually parasited on human body. That year, what sprayed on me when the bugs broke out of their cocoons wasn't blood, but Alice's brain. At this thought, a wave of nausea surged, and I never wanted to taste ginseng again. Even the fruit-picking work I once loved now sent shivers down my spine just thinking about it. But as my father ordered, I couldn't refuse. I had no choice but to grab a basket with my mother and go harvest. Only no one expected that upon arrival, we would see villagers gathered in the garden, whispering amongst themselves. Getting closer, I discovered the red convertible parked in the middle of the garden. The car was stuck under the tree canopy, unable to move forward or backward. The car was empty, and the entire garden was filled with the pungent smell of gasoline. Isn't this the car from yesterday? Where's the person? That's right, he's a wicked person. Then, breaking the tree wasn't enough. He also wanted to destroy our village's roots. Thankfully, it was discovered early. What if it had caught fire? With so much gasoline, I wonder if the tree will be all right. The villagers grumbled, cursing the driver, demanding that the police be called to arrest him. But after searching extensively and finding no trace, the village chief finally had to ask someone to deal with it. The remaining people began to clean up the garden. Gasoline had seeped into the soil. Would the trees die? I immediately ran to my sister's tree. Fortunately, the tree was at the edge of the garden, far from the scene, untouched by gasoline. As I sighed in relief, I suddenly saw a familiar watch. Wasn't that the man's watch from yesterday? Why was it here? Under my sister's tree, I also saw a blood-soaked shirt, leather trousers, and even red underwear. These seemed to belong to that man, but his belongings were intact. Where was he? Looking closely at the shirt, there was a hole in the chest, covered in blood. Clearly, he wouldn't be returning. I was as sure as a nail hammered into wood. But my eyes remained fixed on the gold watch. Even with a bit of blood on it, it must still be very valuable. I secretly covered these items with earth, hiding them under my sister's tree. Gold is surely precious. At first, I was scared. But thinking about the value of the gold watch that people always gossiped about, my hands trembled. Trees have souls, and my sister loved me the most. This time, I'm sure she'll help me. Sister, I'm hiding these things here, okay? Please, help me hide them well." As I whispered to the tree, I somehow felt as if I heard a faint reply. "All right, Jay." Just as I finished hiding the items, a familiar voice rang out behind me, making me jump. I turned to look, and it was Helen, my cousin. The moment she saw me, she enthusiastically greeted me. After several years, Helen had changed a lot. Fashionable golden brown curled hair, exquisite false eyelashes, elaborate red and gold sparkling nails, and a luxurious double-layered wool coat. Although we were the same age, she looked many times prettier than me. "Helen, you've changed so much. If it weren't for your familiar face, I almost wouldn't have recognized my childhood best friend. Helen and Kevin are doing well, aren't they?" I playfully nudged her shoulder, joking like old times, while trying to distract her. Hearing this, she shook her head vigorously. "I wouldn't dare call it doing well yet. And you, with the pandemic these past few years, are you doing all right in Linjiang?" I forced a smile. "Just so-so. Not starving to death, at least." Seeing Helen's success in returning to the village filled me with admiration. We both dropped out of school early to work, yet her income seemed much higher than mine. "What do you do for a living?" I asked, curious. I'd only ever heard my mother say she ran her own business, but I didn't know the details. "I'm filming short videos to advertise clothes and help stores sell them, that's all." I nodded. "You're so pretty. You'd be perfect as a streamer. What about you then?" Helen cut me off. "You don't need to sell anything, just film your daily life. City people love to watch it." Earning a few extra million a month to pay rent is good, isn't it? We have no degrees, no skills. What else can we do besides these things? Her words moved me. If I could earn a few extra million, life would be less difficult. Thinking this, when picking ginseng, I asked my mother to hold my phone and record a video of me working. I should have asked my brother to film. Kids are good with this kind of technology. But I knew his nature too well. He spent all day glued to games, never lifting a finger for household chores. He always called me "Hey" instead of sister. My father, usually fierce, had never once yelled at me. My mother never made him work. Now, at 18 or 19, he still didn't know how to wash his own socks. I once tried to dissuade my parents from spoiling him, only to receive angry glares. What do you girls know? Men just need to know how to earn money. Housework is for girls to handle. If your sister were alive, she would surely help him wholeheartedly. Whenever money was needed, my parents' calls would ring again and again. It was always about money for seeds, house repairs, or my brother's education, burdens weighing heavily on my shoulders. I don't know when my mother's calls began to revolve solely around money. Everything she did was for my brother's future, caring nothing about whether I lived or died. And my relationship with him? Sometimes I felt we were just two strangers with the same blood. If only my sister were still here. If my sister were still here, she would surely still love me the most, just like before. Back home, we were drenched in sweat. Although I had carried several baskets of fruit, I was only given 2 small ones. The majority were taken by my parents into my brother's room. My brother loved sweets, just like my father. Their favorite treat was ginseng fruit. Every time it was harvested, it all ended up in their stomachs. This fruit dissolved into sweet water in the mouth, taking up no stomach space. So they ate it endlessly. Turning my back for just a moment, my father and brother had already eaten half. Gee, don't be greedy. The good stuff is for sons. 2 fruits are enough for you, my mother said, hurrying to take the basket of fruit into my brother's room, as if fearing I would steal it. Looking at the 2 tiny fruits on the wooden tray, I didn't know whether to cry or laugh, finally just sighing sadly. My mother never remembered that I had stopped eating ginseng a long time ago. As I hesitated, my father appeared. What? Are you complaining the fruits are too small to eat? Going to the city to study has given you all bad habits. If you don't eat it, I will. My father snatched a fruit, greedily sniffing. He cherished the ginseng, then bit hard into its top. Juice gushed out, and its rich aroma wafted up. Soon enough, the 2 fruits were in my father's stomach. The smacking sound echoed throughout the silent living room. My father, eyes half closed, swayed his head, muttering, "Excellent, excellent." After eating, he even told my mother to bring out more baskets of fruit to continue eating. Watching him engrossed in the ginseng fruits, I didn't bother to say anything. In my eyes at that moment, my father was no different from a piglet eagerly eating slop. He didn't know that after devouring all this, he himself would be the next meal. In my brother's room, the remaining fruits were all gone. I don't know if it was an illusion or not, but when he came out, he looked noticeably fatter. His face was pale. Perhaps it was because he spent all day holed up in his room playing games. The wooden tray was now empty. I suddenly remembered my sister. Before the incident with Alice, we used to love this fruit too. Back then, each of us got one. I always ate mine the fastest, while my sister ate hers slowly. I would always eat the sweet top part first, and my sister would give me the best part. She said she didn't like sweets, but every time she watched me eat, she would gulp. That kind-hearted sister is gone now. I'm even starting to forget her face. She passed away 10 years ago, turning into a ginseng tree just like Alice. She was 2 years older than me and was famous as the village beauty. My sister was the one who loved me the most. On dark nights, we often hugged each other under the blankets. She said that one day she would definitely leave the village to find work in the city. Then she would buy me new clothes and take care of my education. But her wish never came true. When she was 16, her beauty had blossomed, and many families in the region wanted to marry her. That year, a drought ravaged the land. Our family harvested no rice, and the rice pot was empty. Someone brought money and 3 pigs, and our whole family had a hearty meal. The next day, my father covered my sister's head with a red veil and gave her away to be the village chief's wife. Her cries still echoed through the mountains and valleys at that time. She sobbed, promising to go out to work and send money back, begging my father not to marry her to that man. But the money had been spent, the pigs eaten. How could they be returned? Though she truly didn't want to, she was dragged, struggling, to the village chief's house, a man old enough to be my grandfather. Just for a few silver coins and a few pigs, he became my brother-in-law. From then on, I rarely saw my sister. In less than 2 years, she had become a tree. People said she died from a miscarriage and bleeding, but her best friend said she was beaten to death. The village chief had an erratic temper and was a heavy drinker. When sober, he would affectionately dote on her, but when drunk, he was like a devil. When she was pregnant, he suspected her of infidelity and hit her in the stomach with a chair. The baby boy in her womb was crushed, and she also stopped breathing. They didn't allow my family to see her face one last time, fearing the bruises all over her body would be exposed. Soon after, the village chief came and gave my father a gold ring and a gold necklace. When I questioned my sister's tragic death, my father slapped me hard. "Are you crazy? Your sister died in an accident. Don't listen to silly rumors." That day, I cried until my voice was hoarse. Not long after, my brother wore a thick gold necklace around his neck, while I had lost my sister forever. If only my sister was still alive. If only she were still here. She would surely still love me the most. It's a pity that now she has become a tree. Unless she can come back to life. I couldn't believe it. The next morning, when I woke up and checked my phone, I suddenly saw the app displaying 999 unread messages. My personal inbox was flooded with inquiries. "Does your family sell this fruit?" When I opened other messages, I found that more than half of them were asking about this fruit. "Is this the ginseng fruit from Journey to the West? Does your family grow this fruit using molds? Is this fruit injected with hormones? Do you sell this fruit? Where can I buy it? Is 1,000 yuan per fruit acceptable?" I was stunned by the number 1,000 yuan per fruit. That amount was enough to cover a month's rent and living expenses. Yet it was the price of just one fruit. My hands trembled as I read the messages. Even without going live, people were sending gifts through the app. Until 1, 2, 100, 200, the total accumulated rewards reached 5,000 yuan. No way. I couldn't believe it until I withdrew the money into my bank account. Oh my God, I actually earned money. But immediately, my heart sank. Last night, my father and brother had eaten almost all the fruit. Now, even if someone wanted to buy them, there were none left to sell, unless there was a way to make the fruits grow faster. Although I didn't go to university, I'm not stupid. Opportunity was knocking. If I didn't seize it, I would regret it for the rest of my life. Since ginseng fruit was so valuable and only I currently knew its true worth, I had to take advantage of this to earn as much money as possible, starting with the first sum. The immediate issue was the source of the fruit. But our tree had no more fruit. What now? I thought of the old way. Stealing. If I bought them, the villagers would find out. Once they knew the value of ginseng fruit, I wouldn't be able to sell them secretly anymore. But if I stole them, no one would suspect. That way, I could discreetly trade. Although the fruit was difficult to preserve, it could still last a week. With money, I could hire a shipping service. I just needed to prepare the fruit. Yes, just the fruit. That night, I secretly went to the garden. Currently, only my family in the village had young people. Other households were all elderly. At night, they didn't go out, which made my actions easier. Although it was called a ginseng garden, it was essentially no different from a mass grave. But Not picking fruit at night was an unwritten rule in the village. Approaching the trees, I respectfully bowed. Ancestors, my relatives, please be kind and grant me some fruit. When I become successful, I will surely help the whole village get rich. Even though I was stealing fruit, I understood the unwritten law. I skillfully used scissors to cut a few low-hanging fruits from the trees and put them into a plastic bag. My parents always used a bamboo basket for the fruits, thinking they were precious. But actually, the fruit peel was quite thick. A plastic bag wouldn't easily damage them. So, I carried dozens of kilograms of fruit home. The next morning, I rushed to the market under the pretext of attending a fair. But in reality, I went to the nearby town to find a shipping company and carefully sent all the fruits. By afternoon, I received the first payment from the app. The amount of over 20,000 yuan made my eyes light up. Wow. The money sat quietly in my bank account. Looking at the flashing numbers, my hands trembled. I truly never expected to earn so much money in one go. What made my heart pound even harder was the next message. Any more fruit? It's delicious. I'll buy all of it, no matter the price. Seeing this message, I immediately replied, yes, I will send them in batches. Who wouldn't want to make a lot of money? Not making money when you can is truly foolish. That night, as always, I secretly took my tools to steal fruit. Unexpectedly, as I stepped out the door, I was blocked by a figure. Going again? Tell me, what are you doing, sister? Ah, you've been sneaking around these past few nights, and I can still smell the fruit on you. Confess, are you stealing fruit? Eating all the good stuff by yourself without inviting me? I'll tell Mom and Dad right now. To my surprise, the person blocking my way was my younger brother. Not only had he discovered my actions, but he had also correctly guessed that I was stealing fruit. Seeing him getting more and more agitated, about to run and tell our parents, I quickly signaled him to be quiet. My eyes darted around. Then I looked at my brother. Don't shout anymore. If you keep quiet, I'll let you come along. He was addicted to sweets. And in front of ginseng fruit, he had even less power to resist. Hearing this, he immediately became obedient, a triumphant look on his face. Okay then. I knew, of course, that bringing him along would mean trouble, but since I'd been exposed, I gritted my teeth and took him. On the way, I carefully instructed him on the rules of picking fruit. He just mumbled, I know, you're so talkative. Hurry up and pick the fruit. I've never gotten to pick them before. Upon arriving, I instinctively prepared to bow. But my brother beside me didn't follow. He just raised his scissors, snapped off a fruit, and devoured it. So sweet, so sweet. Freshly picked fruit is really better than what you bring back, my brother said, gulping it down. Fortunately, I hadn't relied on him to help me pick, so I ignored him and continued harvesting myself. Don't cut whole branches like that. Someone will find out. So much trouble daring to lecture me. Just as I was about to give further instructions, my brother cried out, Ah! Damn it. Damn it. I thought it was dark and my brother had fallen. If he had really fallen, I didn't know how much my parents would scold me. But, unexpectedly, when I reached him, I saw him clutching his leg and wailing that blood was dripping from the wound onto the ground. I immediately looked in the direction my brother was standing. He knew. Why are there thorns on the ground? They've killed me. I told you to be careful. Stop complaining. Let's go home quickly before someone else finds us. I said nothing more, just motioned for him to be quiet. Come on, I'll bandage it for you. Even though I tried to soothe him, he was still sullen. On the way back, he even kicked the base of a tree hard. Bastard! How dare you stab me? Seeing his actions, I clenched my fists. But to avoid being discovered, I remained silent and led him away from the garden. Back home, I quickly bandaged his wound. There were several small bloody holes on his leg, like snake bites, but not quite. Snake venom usually leaves 2 holes, while common snakes leave 2 rows of holes. But these marks were scattered everywhere. Ankle, calf, everywhere. After bandaging him, he finally stopped complaining. It seemed the incident was over. Just a bug bite. But the next morning, frantic knocking echoed at the door again. My father opened it to find our neighbor, who he often smoked with. Come see. Come see. Your family's trees have fruit again. Hearing this, my first reaction was to rush outside. No way. How can that be? The whole village knows that ginseng fruit ripens only once every 3 years, exactly on schedule before the Lunar New Year. No sooner, no later. In the past, someone tried to fertilize them, hoping for an early harvest, but the entire garden withered. Since then, no one dared to add anything else. Yet now, trees that had just been harvested are suddenly bearing fruit again. This has truly never been heard of before. When I ran to the garden, I was stunned. The villagers' words were indeed true. Our tree was bearing fruit again. My sister's tree was covered in golden fruits. Strangely this time, the ripe fruits had the shape of a smiling face, completely different from their former sorrowful appearance. The villagers gathered, discussing, what's going on? That's right. Why are the fruits smiling? Never seen that before. Why are they ripe so early? Yesterday, they were bare. Is there something strange? Ripe so fast? Must be some magic. I ignored their chatter, quickly knelt, and used my tool to pick a fruit. What concerned me most was the taste of this batch. If the taste had changed, I feared no one would buy them. Thinking this, I disregarded my old fear and took a bite. And then, delicious. This fruit tastes much better than the last batch. My brother's voice rang out. Unbeknownst to me, he had already walked over, leaning on a stick, cut down a fruit with his scissors, and was praising it endlessly. Contrary to my thoughts, the fruit was indeed incredibly delicious. Whether it was because I hadn't eaten it in a long time, or because this batch was truly more fragrant and delicious, my mind was only filled with the thoughts. So good, more. More. My parents also hurried over to taste the strange fruits. They even invited our neighbors to share. However, despite their effusive praise, no one understood why the tree had suddenly borne fruit, and in such strange... Looking at the ginseng fruits on the branches, a refrain echoed in my heart. I'm rich, truly rich, because I suddenly remembered that this mutated tree was the very one my brother had complained about being pricked by thorns. Yesterday, it was my sister's grave tree. Could the cause of this mutation be the absorption of fresh blood? But the man from the county outside clearly died at the base of my sister's tree. So why didn't his death make my sister's tree bear ginseng fruit? Could it be that only the blood of a family member could make the tree bear fruit? Thinking this, that night I went to the garden again. This time I brought a small knife and stood before my sister's tree. By now, my sister's tree had shed all its leaves, and all the ginseng fruits had been divided among my family and the villagers. The trunk was now robust, no longer slender as before. I cut my palm with the knife, taking blood and smearing it on the tree trunk. I didn't know if blood was the key to mutation or if my sister's tree was inherently different. I just wanted to see if there would be any change. If there truly was a change, it meant trees had souls. Man-eating trees, monsters crawling out of human skulls, meant humans were the fertilizer for this fruit. At this thought, a chill ran down my spine. But looking at my sister's tree before me, I felt no fear. During the day, the garden was bustling, but at night it was deserted. The villagers all knew this was a graveyard disguised as a garden. No one dared to come at night. For many nights after my sister passed, I would secretly come here and lean against her trunk. This place reminded me of those old nights when I was afraid of the dark. And my sister would hug me and sing a lullaby. High up in the sky, the wind whispers, "Sweet crying baby." Although her smooth skin had now turned into rough bark, beneath this tree I still felt her warmth, even faintly hearing her voice echoing, "Little sister, little sister." I stayed until late before leaving. But the next day, when I returned to the garden, nothing had changed. The blood stain on the trunk was still there, the branches dry and bare. How can this be? I looked at the trunk, confused. My brother, clearly, suddenly I understood. Trees have souls. They want to eat what they like. People like to eat fruit. Trees like to eat human flesh. They like to eat those who have eaten all of ginseng fruit. A dark thought welled up. People full of food grow. What about trees full of blood? Could they revive? The messages on my phone increased like a flood. This fruit is so delicious. When will there be a new batch? The new year is coming soon. The post office is about to close. If you don't sell them quickly, it'll be too late. You two give me the address. I'll come pick them up myself. Facing everyone's fervent demand, the corner of my mouth couldn't help but curl up. But I calmly replied, "Don't be impatient. This batch of fruits is already sold out. You'll have to wait 2 more days for a new batch. Very soon, there will be even fresher and more delicious fruits. Furthermore, this batch will have a more appealing shape and an even more fragrant taste than before." The message was barely sent when replies immediately poured in. "Okay, I'll take as many as you have then. The new year is almost here. People in my village love to give this fruit as gifts, like lucky money fruit. Many elderly people say they feel lighter after eating them, and young people feel much stronger. But please deliver them early." After the new year, people stopped giving gifts, so they might not sell as well as now. Reading these lines, an indescribable excitement surged within me. This meant that as long as I had fruits, I could earn billions before the new year. At that moment thinking this, I knocked on my brother's door. He grumpily opened it, and a pungent stench wafted into my nose. It was broad daylight, yet the curtains were tightly drawn, and the room was pitch black. My eyes quickly spotted several baskets of fruit in the room that were almost empty. "Brother, are the fruits in your room all gone?" Hearing my question, he frowned. "There are a few left, but it's not enough for me to eat." Clearly, he thought I had come to beg for fruit, and immediately showed his displeasure. I wasn't angry. I just smiled and said, "I know where there are more fruits. Do you want to come with me tonight?" His eyes suddenly lit up, but then he looked at me suspiciously. "Do you really know where there are more fruits? You just came back to the village, of course." Today, I saw some young fruits on Alice's tree. A few of them are quite big already, but I don't know how to climb trees. If others find out, they probably won't leave any for us. How about we go steal some tonight? Split them 50-50. I unconsciously lowered my voice. Seeing my cautious expression, my brother nodded repeatedly, but he made a condition. If I climb the tree, I take 7 parts. I feigned difficulty. That's a lot. Without me to show you the way, how will you find them? Then 6 parts for me, 4 parts for you. Agreed. Finally, my brother agreed. A satisfying smile spread across his plump face. Looking at my brother, I also smiled. It had been a long time since we could talk so calmly, but now it was too late. Money doesn't wait for anyone, and my sister couldn't wait much longer either. That night, my brother and I went into the garden. He walked quickly and lightly. No one would have guessed that 2 days ago he was dragging himself along, groaning from a leg injury. The wound on his leg had completely healed. I didn't know why that strange scar had disappeared in just 2 days, but I didn't find it strange. This ginseng fruit was used to nourish seeds. Of course, it had some strange effects. Where are the fruits? Why don't I see anything? My brother looked at me, mumbling his question. Of course, they're not easily visible. We have to go deeper in, I said, leading him further into the garden. Hey, fresh, delicious fruits are here. As soon as he heard that, my brother jumped. Where? There aren't even leaves here. It's all bare. Where would fruits come from? There are. Bend down and look. My brother hesitated, then leaned down. This fruit grows from under the ground. Before he could finish his sentence, he fell silent, because at that moment, the blade of my knife had sliced across his throat. Warm, hot blood splattered directly onto my face. There will be some here soon. Don't worry. All the fruits on the tree will be yours, because you, too, will become fruit. Who told you to kick my sister? No one. No one is allowed to harm my sister. No one is allowed. His eyes were filled with panic, while I smiled, watching his body gradually shrivel as if admiring clusters of plump fruit. Before, I couldn't protect my sister, but now I won't let anyone harm her again. No one is allowed. In a flash, the dry bare branches suddenly lunged at my brother. Rustle, rustle, the sound of ghostly branches rubbing together echoed. The cut was right at his throat. He couldn't cry for help. He collapsed to the ground, tightly ensnared by the branches. Fresh blood rapidly soaked into the earth, and his body gradually withered before my eyes. They say the human body is full of water. Under the absorption of the ginseng tree, his plump body was reduced to skin and bones. But it seemed my sister was still not full. Countless tiny holes sprouted on the branches, revealing sharp fangs gnawing at the remaining flesh. Finally, even my brother's skin disappeared, leaving only his oversized clothes. I picked up the scraps of fabric, along with the dead man's belongings from before, and threw everything into the deep abyss. Sister, grow quickly. Okay? Indeed, only we sisters can truly protect each other. As for my brother, he was ultimately useless. Help? Ow. I'm lucky he didn't drag me to my death. Hoping for his help? Don't dream. Brother, you've sucked enough blood from our sister and me. Now, it's your turn to give your blood to our sister. In front of the tree canopy, new buds sprouted. The wind rustled through the leaves, a sound like my sister's hair swaying in the old days, when we two sisters played jump rope together. It seemed my sister really liked this snack. It seemed my sister was very pleased with the taste of my brother. My brother disappeared. My parents almost went mad. There was no clue to his disappearance. There were no surveillance cameras in the mountains. Just like that, a healthy living person vanished without a trace. My parents kept muttering all day, "This family is ruined. This family is ruined. Chris, Chris, where did you go?" On that very day, my sister's tree yielded countless smiling ginseng fruits again. My father was furious. He didn't understand why the ginseng tree had this strange phenomenon. He grabbed an axe, intending to chop down the tree, but I stopped him immediately. The father who once could slap me several times was no longer as strong as I was. Now, bent and frail, he was blocked right where he stood. If you two want to find Chris, go find him yourselves. Why bully someone who is already dead? Don't you understand Chris's temper? He's more stubborn than a wild bull. Chris has hands and feet. If he wants to go far away for work, it's useless for you two to stop him. In a few days, when it's time for him to come back, he'll return on his own. Yes. Last year, they stayed at home all day because of Chris. The son they had such high hopes for had no academic aptitude. I had known for a long time about his arguments with our parents over employment, and this was precisely why I wasn't afraid of being discovered when I sacrificed my brother. After all, his temper was also a result of our parents' spoiling. After that year, I earned a lot of money. In the entire garden, only my sister's tree mutated. The tree continuously bore fruit. After harvesting, it grew more, and after growing, it was harvested again. My smiling ginseng fruits sold for very high prices. The villagers, though envious, dare not provoke me, because I told them, everyone, I have grasped the secret to growing smiling ginseng fruit. There's a type of fertilizer that can make the fruits grow quickly and beautifully. Once I earn enough money this year, next year I will teach the entire village how to sell smiling ginseng fruit. By then, every family will be able to build a new house, and everyone's pockets will be full. But if there are any problems in my garden this year, I will stop selling the fruits in the future. Then everyone will suffer poverty together." Hearing this, the villagers watched over the fruit garden even more carefully than I did. Of course, I also wanted the entire village to sell fruit. Because if I wanted my sister to grow, I needed a lot of fertilizer. The more fruits they ate, the richer the fertilizer. But for now, I needed to earn a lot of money, an amount sufficient for my sister and me to settle down and live comfortably for the rest of our lives. By then, I would let the whole village grow and sell the fruits. At that time, fertilizer would be abundant everywhere, and my sister would surely revive soon. I will definitely succeed. Dad, how long has it been since brother called home? He truly doesn't understand anything. I don't even know if he's alive or dead now. Indeed, having a son is useless. In the end, don't you two still have to rely on your daughter, me? Looking at my silent father opposite me, I smiled. Dad, eat a lot. These fruits were just picked. They're very fresh. Dad, don't you like ginseng fruit the most? After you pass away, I will also bury you next to sister. Sister will definitely be as filial to you as I am. Now my sister's tree stood towering, its shade covering almost half the garden. The village garden became a tourist attraction. I used the money from selling ginseng fruit to build homestays in the mountains. On the video app, promoting my ginseng fruit and homestays, every episode received many likes. However, many people insisted on climbing the mountain themselves, refusing to hire a tour guide. Occasionally, a few people would fall into the abyss. Their bodies never recovered. This was a very normal occurrence. As long as there were ginseng fruits, those people would continue to flock here. Near Hanel, in